It's your homegirl Ronnika. Here's another episode of the Please Do Tell podcast. Welcome back, my homies. Okay, so all know that it's May and it's Mental Health Awareness Month, so I'm going to keep in this theme of really talking about things that really is going to help me get to that place of feeling whole again, especially assessing my mental health. Are y'all ready? Let's get into it. So this is going to be a story time regarding when I moved to oh gosh, when I moved to Virginia for an internship. In the previous episode, I talked about when where my mental state was a little bit when I moved to North Carolina, but I moved to Virginia 3 times in the summer for an internship at the Museum of the Confederacy, which is now the American Civil War Museum. So it was the summer of 2011. There was going to be 3 interns, maybe it was 4 of us total, from North Carolina Central that were going to be staying for 6 weeks in our own hotel room about, I would say, maybe 5 miles from the museum. So it was almost like a straight shot from our hotel, and our supervisor who lived full time in Virginia, she would come to the hotel in the morning and we would follow her back to the museum. Almost like we look like little ducks in a row. With like Mama Duck come get us, and then we'll trail her in the car as if we didn't know how to get there. But no one could prepare me for the 3 summers that it was going to be working there. And in the previous episode, the classmate and friend that I talked about from college, we did that internship those 3 summers together. So he could tell you some stories as well. My first week, I know that this is gonna be real telling. Okay, so it was how many months? So a year after my accident actually happened. My fire in my apartment happened in 2010. So in 2011, I was in a whole new apartment in Morrisville, North Carolina, and that's where I met one of my longtime friends, Devarian, and he lived the floor below me. Then we had, and we laugh about this to this day. He said we had that whole little block he said that whole apartment jumping. It was 2 of us that went to Central that stayed across the hall from each other. There was a young man on the bottom floor that we okay. We were like, what does he do? Does he work? I don't think he works. He always had money. We were just like, I don't think he sells drugs or anything. We would joke about all of this. And he had like a Beamer, but just cool as a fan. Like we've had dinners together, and I'm just like, what does he do? But thinking back on it, I think we ended up being friends on Facebook later on. And then he was like, how do you know my cousin? I went to like undergrad with his cousin. But it was just a whole family in that apartment. It was me, the guy across the hall, one of my good friends, Devarian, like I said, stayed below me. There was another young lady named Kristen, who we still follow each other on Instagram. Like, hey, Kristen girl. And I think it was E. Yeah, we just called him E. E is the one that we just couldn't. He was like Tommy off of Martin. We didn't know what the heck he did. Devarian had like all of his friends and family over, and this was actually the first time that I met his now wife, which is my girl D. Hey D. And I remember It was like a lot of drinks flowing. I think I thought I was gonna outdrink someone. Crazy. Like who we aren't in undergrad. We aren't in like what? What was I thinking? And then the great thing is like everyone was staying put. No one was driving. He had set up that, hey, no one's leaving. And I mean, I stayed upstairs, so I was just gonna just walk right on upstairs. And I remember the room was spinning, and then I got in bed. Now, I don't remember anything between the room spinning and getting into bed. I don't remember until I woke up the next morning. And there was like a trail of like my previous night's decisions on the floor, as I should say. I didn't call my mom because I just didn't didn't call my mom. I called my dad. And because my dad was the one that was there when I got out of the hospital. He was the one that was a part of my care. Because I was just thinking, like, when it comes to military, and then even when I got my wisdom teeth pulled, he was the one that took care of me. So I called him and I said, I just looked in the mirror and my internship starts on Monday. Friday, I think Friday or Saturday night. So I woke up the next morning and I was like, oh my gosh, I've busted a blood vessel in my eye. Like, what the heck happened last night? It was almost like, I forgot what that movie is, The Hangover. It felt like that. I said, what the heck? So I called him and he said, well, what's going on? I was like, I busted a blood vessel. I have a blood vessel in my eye. Like, what am I supposed to do? The internship starts Monday. And he said, okay. I said, they're going to think like I'm crazy or something. He was like, what are you talking about? And then I said, well, he was like, well, how did you bust a blood vessel in your eye? I said, I thought I could outdrink one of DeVarian's cousins. And he said, you what? I said, I thought I could outdrink one of DeVarian's cousins. He was like, so it sounds like you had too much to drink. I said, that's pretty much how I can sum this up. Yes, that's what happened. So he's telling me like how to get everything out of the floor. Cause I said, it's like red. He said, what, like what was going on? Like, what did salsa? What was it? So I have pictures, which I don't know if they're on social media. I know they're somewhere in my hard drive. Cause Torrin, who did the internship with me, when he picked me up, cause he drove the first week, when he picked me up to that Sunday afternoon to drive to Richmond, he was like, are you okay? I said, this is going to be one heck of a first impression with this. How am I going to explain that I busted this blood vessel? So he's like clowning me the whole 3 hours and something to Richmond, Virginia, which I didn't need. And I had a headache and everything, but I know that was the last time that I was like, I'll never do that again. Like ever. Like I don't ever have to party like that again. We get to Richmond and our new supervisor meets us at the hotel. She gets us all checked in. We do dinner that evening and she's preparing us for the environment that we're going to be walking into. And I thought, this can't be so bad because we visited before and everybody seemed really nice. She was like, it's very different from when you meet someone and you're just seeing them for just like you're coming in as a patron versus working here. And I thought, oh, okay. Now let me set the tone. As I said before, it's the Museum of the Confederacy. We were coming from an HBCU to work in a library with a Black woman who was the only Black person that worked there. We come in, we're starting to meet people. Oh, we're just so happy that you're here. I'm like, okay, well, it's starting to feel good. Around week 2, we started to see like people's true colors starting to come out because now we're a part of the staff for the summer and we're in staff meetings. So we're starting to see everybody voice their opinions. The CEO would have these summer gatherings at his home and would never invite our supervisor, who would come out, would go to all these community events, speak very highly of the museum. She would even have us come out and speak, and we would talk about all of the because in this library it was a lot of paperwork that had never been seen. It hadn't been seen since it was put there, and that was back in the early 1900s, like when the ownership went from the family to, it was transferring ownership. And they said everything was documented by the little old ladies. So we're out in the community, we're talking about things, we're in different spaces, and we started noticing, like, this is racism. Like, this, a lot of the conversations that we're privy to is, it's not even, because I've been in spaces where racism has been the thing that is like, oh no, but I'm not racist. No, this was blatant. This was like in our face. Racism, like, oh no, you're not welcome there. So I would, because I'm looking for community on the days that we didn't work, which was normally the weekends if we didn't have an outing as a group, I would go out into those Richmond streets, and I'm like, I want to see where the black people are. Like, I want to know where they are. I would see, like, either there would be like a farmer's market or the car wash or the barbecue place, the donut shop. And I tell them where I was working. They was like, black folks don't go there. I said, but our history is there, y'all. Like, I can show you paperwork. It's there. And he was like, oh yeah, we don't go there. We don't go there. And to play the role of being in two worlds at once, it's almost like, okay, well, I'm corporate Ronnika, and then I'm cool Ronnika after 5. But it was, nevertheless, first, I'm black. And we were constantly reminded of that. But to hear that there were like certain gatherings and we as a staff weren't invited. But yet we were going out in the community to talk about how this place should be utilized by black people, because so much of our history are attached to the Confederacy, was difficult. And I did that for 3 summers. So that first summer taught me that you don't always have to have friends at work. You have to know how to work with people, and that's fine. You will demand respect from people, because I did see I saw how my supervisor was treated, how she was talked to. And all I kept thinking was, I'm only here for the summer. She's here year round. So by the end of that 3rd summer there, my father was already, he had already become an ancestor. And by this particular time, she had found, my former supervisor, she had finally, because she knew we weren't coming back after that. Like, this, we were graduating. That was it. She said, I had to find me another job. This season of my life is now over. I've let them basically destroy my health. And by you all not coming back, I feel like it is my green light to move on to something else. And I thought about that recently, just with, because I've run into a few people that I've done projects with over the last year, and I've talked about in past episodes about being on high blood pressure medication, how what caused it, and then now being off of them. And I ran into someone, and she was like, "Man, those meetings aren't the same without you." I said, "Oh, girl, like I mean, you'll find like you all have to make like a new community, but I've moved on to something else." She was like, "No, it's not the same." And I told her, "You didn't know the other side of that. Because I didn't know what my former supervisor had mentally went through in order for us to be there." Because people had asked her, "Well, you couldn't get any students from VCU, University of Virginia. You couldn't get any kids that are local." And she was like, "Well, I mean, I could have got some students from Virginia Union, but but we have this partnership with North Carolina Central." They was like, "Oh no, but we're attached to VCU. You couldn't get anyone from there." She said, "Are you saying that I shouldn't have partnered and got any black interns here this summer?" Because we had, shout out to Mike, because he's actually from Berrien Springs, one of the interns that I had. Cool as a fan. We're still friends on Facebook. And he saw it. He said, "I am a white boy from Berrien Springs, and even I can see what's going on here." So when I talked to the young lady that like I said, I ran into last week, and I said, "You have no idea what I had to go through in order for that group to still even exist." I said, "I saw a decline in my health, and the first person I thought of was my former supervisor." And that was when I was like, "Nope, not me." Like, I don't care if I don't have a plan in place. I watched this woman, and I was once a girl that always laughed with her hand over her mouth because she hated her smile. I watched this woman not be confident because of her smile, of her being a black woman, of just what she was talking about in these white spaces. And I said, "Oh, that if I'm gonna fight for us to be diverse and to be inclusive in the conversation and in different programs, it can't be like this." So last Sunday, I had an organizer. We became very close with organizing together. I went over her house and we were talking, and she was kind of giving me the rundown on where she's been, because she stepped away from some things that we've partnered with before. And she told me, this is what made me like, okay, all right, you got a little bit more fight in you. She said, because I hadn't seen her, so we were both like fighting our own demons and challenges without anybody knowing. And like my mom even said, you just never know what someone is going through. So we talked through that, because I was saying, "Oh, I've stayed away from people." She said, "Oh, I've been staying away too." But she said, "I can tell you that our goal with organizing from the very beginning was to," because she said, "We call ourselves Ben Harbor St. Joe. Like, we're an organization that's for Ben Harbor St. Joe." And she said, "We could never get a diverse crowd." And she said, "One of the first things you said when you came on board, you was like, I'm gonna get some black people in here. We just gonna be cackling. We gonna be telling stories together. I'm gonna get them in here. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do it." And now, looking back, since I've been a part of that organization 7 years later, I'm able to look out into the crowd and I'm like, look at us. Look at Ben Harbor and St. Joe getting together, 200 of us in a room or outside for one common thing, and that's the love of stories. So when I look back over the many hits or the many things that I've been a part of that have played a part in like triggering certain things of my mental health, I get those reminders of like, oh no, you've been doing some stuff that's been impactful. So I know that it's hard to, in the very beginning, especially because you're looking for people that look like you, but you may not always connect with people that look like you. You just have to find community of people that love the things that you do. And that has nothing to do with color. So once I learned that, and I really hung on to that, because there were people coming to that museum every summer for research, for the love of history, and for the love of wanting to know the history of the entire house. Not just the history of the family of Jefferson Davis, but they wanted to know the history of the Black people that occupied that space too. So we were able to be in that library every day talking about our differences and our similarities. And I think once we get closer to that way of thinking, hopefully this will be a better place to live, okay? So you all, I think that's where I'm going to wrap it up, okay? So you all, I am your homegirl, Ronnika. This is the Please Do Tell podcast. This is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we will see you next time.